All right, I believe we are live, Tim. I'm just going to wait another few moments to make sure that LinkedIn catches up and YouTube catches up as well. Okay, welcome to the Droneresponders TAC Working Group's second live stream session of learning and Q&A. I'm Zev Nadler of UAS Strategic, and my co-host is Tim Reed of Adeptus Cyber Solutions. Together, we provide the TAC server and live stream lessons for the Droneresponders TAC Sandbox community. Last week, we checked on your TAC server connection status. We sent out a map data package push, and then Tim gave us an overview 101 around the main screen. Today, time permitting, we are going to ping all of you and ask you about your server connection status or state. And if you need help with that or making sure that you can follow along on today's lesson, start putting that into your comments now while I'm still meandering here and droning on. Then we will take a look at, Tim's going to talk about, your call sign, your team, your role, how to make those changes and what they actually mean and why you might want it one way or the other. And then I'm going to go into the point dropper tool and the go-to. And then with time permitting, we're going to take a look at Bloodhound. So Tim, with that, I'd like to, actually, before I do that again, bring your comments in if you have any. If you have any questions, please put them in so we can review them for you. And yeah, with that, Tim, I think you've brought your screen up, and I can add that to the stage in just a moment. Let's see here. There we go.
There we go.
All right, you are on, Tim.
All right. So to update your call sign, role, and team, we jump into settings, which is the gear icon. And then obviously we go right into at the top there, call sign, device, and preferences. And we go into our call sign preferences. And then in here, we can set our call sign, our team, and our role. Call sign is unique to your device. And some agencies I've seen have call signs that you can quickly look at to determine what unit you're from, what group you're from. So, like for example, like the National Guard, their call signs might have TN for Tennessee or SC for South Carolina in them, so you can clearly see where the unit is from. The team is one of many colors or several colors you can choose from, and that just helps you identify which Skittles on the map belong to like your team, for example. So mine is selected as red right now. So when you look at me on the map on another device, I show up as red. Obviously, when you're looking at your own device, you don't see your team. You know which team you're on. Then your role, new in, I think, 5.3 and higher, we have access to more roles than in previous versions. So we can actually dive into like, hey, I'm a, let's say I'm a command post. So my role, that changes my COT type and how I'm displayed on the map. And how everybody else views me and what my Skittle will say on top of it. Again, call sign is just a clear text string. You put whatever you want in there, and that's what shows up. So I'm bringing another device up. So when I go back to the map, we can see that Cowboy here. I can tell by looking at him, he's on the same team as me. He's in red, and he's also a team lead. So when I click him, his Skittle, and I get the radio menu, I click the 5 o'clock position and get the details. And in here, I can see that this he's on the red team and he is the team lead. So if I go to that device and I do the same thing, let's say I want to change him to the purple team. He's now changed to the purple team, but he's still a team lead. If I want to change his role, let's say he's a sniper or medic. I thought I clicked sniper. So now he's a purple medic as opposed to a team lead. So it just helps you organize it. And also these play into when you get into contacts, you have the different groups. There's teams. Sorry, teams. So currently this device is tracking 3 different teams: cyan, orange, and purple. So when you go into there and you send it, you can see that, hey, there's Cowboy, he's in the purple team. I can message him. Um, or if I go into orange, I can see who's in orange, and then cyan, I can see who's in cyan. So you'd also be able to message the whole group at that point too. But that's what Teams breaks down to. But then you can also make your own groups in chat, which we'll get to at some point. But that's a quick overview of call sign, team, and roles in TAC. Zev, you're muted.
Thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions on what we just went over? You know, my aspiration for these live streams and lessons are that at the very best possible outcome, you have your TAC up and you are connected to the Drone Responder Sandbox. We're not going to do any connectivity now in this lesson, but hopefully in the next lesson, we will do so. And I'll just mention that next week, we won't have one on our usual Wednesday slot at 12:30 because we will both be at CivTAC 25. If you are coming out to CivTAC 25, Tim and I both have tables there. We'd love for you to come by and say hello. And I know that, Tim, do you want to tell us what it is that you're going to be talking about there? Or not during your speech, but your table, what you're bringing to the table? I don't hear you, Tim. Do you hear me?
Sorry, I'm muted. We'll have some demonstrating capabilities that we've built for our customers through plugins, and discussing what our capabilities are to build custom plugins for our customers. Also, we'll have information about our TAC server as a service. So the TAC server that everybody's currently using is one of our TAC servers as a service offerings. Sits up in Amazon and services everything we need. We'll have that information there available, and we can discuss, how they're set up, how they're secured, and how we can help you by managing the server for you without needing your IT department to get involved. So
Awesome.
we're just there to answer questions too. So
great. And I know you're giving an address as well on one of those 3 days. So UAS Strategic is going to be there as well. And we are going to have a QR code on a banner that you're going to be able to just take a picture of and go directly to droneresponders.org if you're not already a member or have a TAC server credential to use on the TAC Working Group Sandbox. So you'll be able to do that. We also have some airspace awareness tools that we're going to be showing you. And lastly, we have a TAC-enabled ballistic whiteboard that can actually be used in a, God forbid, mission to save or to go towards a threat and then bring civilians back out. It's a pretty interesting piece of kit. It has GoTAC's tag on it so that everybody can know that that asset exists. It will also have a camera on it, so it'll be kind of interesting. Before we continue, I do want to give a shout out to Firestorm, who sent me a box full of swag. And I love this hat because it's like join and fly. And it makes so much sense because they're the 3D printing drone company, additive material, and they make the assembly for the entire drone, many different configurations, and then you join them together and then you fly. So I kind of like the join and fly, but I'm going to take it off now because I don't usually wear hats. Okay. So I see a question here from Andrew Bowen. So the TAC server as a sandbox, as Tim just explained, is up on AWS. That's part of his TAC as a service that he has, TAC server as a service. So no, it's not a Raspberry Pi, but I got one right behind me that I'm using for, I'm sorry, Tim?
No, I was agreeing with you. Yes, it's hosted on AWS, so that we can also use the AWS GovCloud if you're looking for a more secure solution, because AWS GovCloud is FedRAMP approved. That affords us, more security because we know that the personnel managing the AWS are all US based resources versus AWS commercial. you don't know if they are US based or not. But it's just an EC2 instance. We can run it in either. It doesn't matter. But we can get into more detail on how that's configured if anybody's interested, and what we can offer for security on that. So
yeah, you can find us both on LinkedIn. You can DM us there. We probably should put a slide together with our contact information in case anybody wants that, but that'll be for another time. Okay, so I'm going to add my Android tablet to the screen, which I have connected to my Mac. And I'm pretty impressed with this piece of software. It's called, sorry about that. Where are you? There we go. AirDroid Cast. So I'm going to be kind of like that meteorologist that's touching the big screen in a moment, showing you items. So I'm going to go off video for me so we can concentrate on the actual screen. So here we go. Oh, I have to remove you. There we go. All right, so hopefully everybody can see that. So we're going, one more thing I wanted to mention actually before we start is that there's been so much ATAC functionality goodness produced by a couple of different entities. The first one is AJ Johansson of Corona Fire, also known as the Reverend of TAC, and his YouTube channel is the TAC Syndicate. So you can go out there and take a look at different lessons and kind of learn a bit on your own pace. Some of the stuff that we do, we're definitely drawing from that. Actually, later on, we're also going to get on COTAC's YouTube channel, or Colorado Center of Excellence. Their YouTube channel is COE space TAC. So like I said, from time to time, we will also send the TAC working group members links to these, as well as showcase some of these on the live stream. So we're going to talk now about pin drop and go to. And these two functions are so pivotal in the ATAC value chain. The common operating system starts with knowing where your team and your assets are and where your responses are required. So in addition to the obvious firefighting, law enforcement, and EMS applications, consider disaster relief and humanitarian ops. You can tag hazards, you can aid drops, you can tag aid drops, you can tag casualty collection points, also for logistic and maintenance, repair sites, delivery zones, drone drop coordinates, and so on. And we're going to talk about different ways of how you can designate those points. So we're going to start off with go-to, because go-to is probably the most robust. So let's check it out. I have an icon up on the top for go-to that I'm going to press right now. And it's going to bring up a menu. It's going to bring up a window, and then we're going to go around a window a little bit. So MGRS is the military grid reference system. That is one way to determine where you are. If you take a look at the bottom of my screen on the right, it starts off 18S, then a space, then TH, and so on. So that's what that format kind of looks like that you would put in. You put in a zone, a square, your easting, and your northing. Then you have your DD, or your decimal degrees, and that's where you would put in your decimal coordinates for GPS, your longitude and your latitude. Then you have degrees, decimal minutes. You have degrees, minutes, seconds. You have UTM, and UTM is, I actually had to look that up because for me it was unmanned transport method or something. It had more to do with like advanced air mobility and NASA and so on. But the Universal Transverse Mercator, UTM system, projects the Earth's surface onto a two-dimensional grid. It divides the Earth into 60 zones, allowing it to provide highly accurate grid reference for locations. And you can also put in an address, and then, that's basically typing in the address. If you don't have it perfect, you can go ahead and find it. So, I'm going to put in an address in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it's going to be something generic that I know.
While he's doing that, UTM and MGRS are often confused. MGRS is more fine grained than UTM. They do look the same. They both have a grid and northern and easting components, but they are different.
Okay, and can you, while you're on that subject, can you talk to the northing and easting and why we don't have southing and westing? I know TAC doesn't do that. Do you know why?
All I know is that both of those do it's a north and easting component inside the grid, so it's really just an X and a Y component from the start of the grid. And it's just, I don't know if that's just because it makes more sense going north and east than it does south and west, but it's
Okay.
yeah, it's a north and east from the start of the grid.
All right, well, I'm going to click on next here and then done, and I'm going to get an error, which is basically going to say, hey man, we can't find this. It's not, when I hit OK, it says, please correct or enter a valid coordinate. So when I click on find, it's going to look it up and put in the correct address for it. Now, notice that I now have that in DD, in MGRS. It just populates every single tab that I would need it in. So the last two, which is, of course, address and W3W, which stands for what three words, those do require you to be on an internet connection, certainly for the address one. But actually, Tim's company has made a what three words version plugin that does not require connection. You could use it local. And again, if you want to talk to us about that, give me a direct message. So what it does for you is it kind of solves the problem where numeric coordinates are hard to remember. So they're easier to understand. It's less painful to relay over a voice or chat in stressful situations. I mean, if you have one digit out of place, it can move your team hundreds of meters off target. So the solution is that for what three words in general is that every 3 meter by 3 meter square on Earth is assigned a unique, never changing 3-word address. So what I'm going to do is click on what three words now, and it tells me afford.globe.voters. Now I can send that to somebody and they'll know exactly what coordinate I am speaking about. So anyways, I'm going to say okay at this point. And what that does is that takes me to Scottsdale, Arizona. And I'm going to bring that target up. And I'm going to add a dot on it. And I can take a look at it, and it's going to tell me what the exact coordinate is, and so on. Again, this is where I can click on the what three words, and I'm seeing the what three words for where I just moved to slightly more is widened.garbage.text. So when I go back over here, and I want to go back to the go-to. So this is where I can say set the address as the title. It's a nice thing to have because it's no longer just a marker, a point, or a what three word or geographical location, or excuse me, GPS location of longitude, latitude. You now actually have an address you could put on it. For elevation, I'm going to click pull elevation, and I'm able to do that because while I don't have DTED, I do have SRTM1, and let's talk about that for a minute. So when I installed the UAS Tools plugin, I went with DTED, but for some reason I was able to get SRTM1, and I'll explain the differences. So DTED is a standardized data format originally developed by the US military for a matrix of terrain elevation values. It is designed to represent the bare earth surface, excluding features like trees or buildings. And this makes a fine digital terrain model. The source of DTED files comes from many different sources, but they are a standard product of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, better known as the NGA. Whereas SRTM1, or Shuttle Radar Topography Mission 1 arc second, refers to the 1 arc second, approximately 30-meter resolution, elevation data that's collected during the shuttle radar topography mission in 2000, the year 2000. And the original SRTM data is a digital surface model, as its radar measurements reflect off the tops of trees and buildings. And again, the source of it was the radar system on board the space shuttle Endeavour back in the year 2000, which mapped the Earth's surface between 60 degrees north and 56 degrees south. Okay, so again, why, what 3 words? If an emergency situation comes in, dispatch is likely going to give you the information in distress. And so if they gave you those decimal points, that might be a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to also show you how it works as well, like go to. So if I hit OK here and OK, I've got my pin drop. Now, if I wanted to do a go to, I could just, I can give a, what was that? Where's your go to? I'm sorry, that is go to. If I wanted to drop a pin, I would pull that up, choose a marker that I wanted to use, and touch a point on the map. So now when I have that, I have quite a few different options. So if we go back to, and this is, sorry about that. This is a good point to, having a little difficulty moving this. All right, we're just going to leave those 2 there for a minute. So when I go back to go to, notice that I only have 8 icons in the lower left that I can use to represent that point. But when I'm using a pin drop, I have various markers that I can use. So the basic ones, but then I can go to mission, I can go to vehicle models, I can use FEMA icons. So those of you who are in FEMA can take a look at that. And then there are subs like iron sights, and ESF that you can use as well with their numerical designators. So you can see that you have a lot more options, a plethora of preferences that you can use within the pin dropper. So let me do something real quick here. Okay, if I want to move that pin or that marker, I just do a long press on it and the red reticle will appear. Once the red reticle appears, I can drag that anywhere I want. Okay, now if I hit it again, and I bring up the reticle or the radial menu, notice in the 9 o'clock position near the left arrow, do that again. I have a 4-way symbol. I'm going to click on that. And now it gives me a magnifying glass. I can get much more specific and detailed on where I want to drop that pin. So if I want it on top of this shed right here in that park, I leave it there. I hit confirm. And now I've really dialed it in for anybody who needs to get there. Let me just take a look at something here. Okay, going back to pin drop, when I go to markers here, I can choose a marker. And notice on the top of the screen, it says tap map to place a point or points. You can long press anywhere to manually enter coordinates. So even though I am in pin dropper and can drop a point there if I'd like, when I choose another symbol to drop a point and hold it, it brings me right back to go to, which is a great feature because it really allows you to get more specific, to use what 3 words and so on. So that's a really nice feature in there as well. I am going to stop here for a minute to take some time, take a look at the comment that is up, and open it up for more comments if you have any questions. If you need some help with your setup, anything that you need that's related to the Drone Responders TAC working group, please ask. All right, so now I'm going to come back on. I'm going to remove that just for a moment. All right, so we have a question from Jeremy. Andrew, someone who's gone through several Raspberry Pis, I'd only use them for testing or experiments or for personal use. They aren't reliable enough. Okay, thank you, Jeremy, for that. Actually, Jeremy and I had a wonderful conversation earlier this week, and I know I owe you an email, but thank you for being a part of the working group. That's awesome. Okay, doesn't look like we have any other questions at this point. Tim, was there anything? Oh, here we go. Alan, which plugins should we load to see what you're seeing? Great question. So the only plugin that I have here that I am using is What Three Words. And if you go into plugins here, you could see, well, I have Drone Home, and I use that for airspace awareness, which we can talk about on another episode. But I also have What Three Words here loaded, and that's what's helping me to show you what I'm showing you today. So that's the only plugin I have. If you'd like that, direct message me, Alan, or give me an email. You have my email address, and I can help you with that as well. Okay, let me see where we are here. And again, if you have any questions not specific to an agency you're with, so if you're a firefighter or a police officer or emergency management, those ConOps and protocols that you guys use is probably better directed at somebody from that world, as opposed to somebody like me who is a TAC person but not in an agency. So hopefully in mid-November, when we come back from CivTAC, we're going to have our next session talking about UAS tools, but we're also going to try to get somebody who is in an agency, and we'll let you know what genre that is so that you can plan for being on that and have some questions. All right, so we're done with that. What I'd like to talk about next is the Bloodhound feature. So the Bloodhound is used to generate a direct line from a user or a location to another user or location. It presents a bearing and a distance, which auto updates as either you or the other point changes direction or speed. The folks at Kotak, who I mentioned earlier, they produced a great video that explains it perfectly. So I'm going to bring that up now. It's literally under a minute and a half. Let me remove this one. And share this window right here. All right, great. I'm going to go silent.
There's no audio, Seth.
Okay, it looks like I have to keep my mic on for you to hear something that I'm watching. I should have realized that, so let me bring that back. All right.
Still no audio.
Okay, not sure why that's happening. Let me take a look and see if a window has a mute microphone. It does not. Okay, well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to show it. I mean, everybody can read the closed caption, but I'm going to read it as well. All right, so take a look at the screen and you get to listen to me. bloodhound tool is used to indicate a direct line from a selected user or location to another user or marker. Most of the time, there will be a marker that shows one and all particles in the most direct route. It doesn't come around terrain, roads, or trails. So that's important to stop for a moment because it's just going to give you an indication as the crow flies. If you need to draw a route to bring a hose or to approach a building that you need to ingress or egress from, that's something that you're going to have to draw on the map, and that's going to be another session to show you how to do that. It's pretty interesting, and it gives you a lot of good information, especially when you go into 3D mode, which I am going to try to do that for a moment. So as you see, when I'm swiping the screen up, I am getting 3D, and I can come back down and get 2D. That's a great feature as well if you're going into terrain. Okay. Oh, no, you're not seeing that. Sorry about that. One moment. I must have taken that away. Okay, we'll finish with this screen and then we'll go back to that. So what you'd like to blood on, you can put in the name of the marker, or you can hit the crosshair to select a particular point. Remember, the bloodhound doesn't a marker. If it isn't one where you need to go, you need to make it bloodhound. You would just press the bloodhound tool again. Okay. Alan Cameron. Oh, great. Happy to chat. Okay. Alan put up something great. I appreciate that. Happy to chat with peers about public safety applications or answer questions. We teach this subject at IFSI. Alan, we're going to have you on one day. All right. That's awesome. All right. I'm going to go back to my screen for a moment. Because I wasn't able to show you the actual 3D movement. So there we go. All right, so this is where by using this, I can actually go and look at it in 3D or in 2D. I'm rotating up with 2 fingers and then coming back down. Let me try to find something with buildings and see how that operates. There we are, somewhere in New York. And when we go up, we can see, we're actually not seeing it in 3D. Tim, do you know what I'm doing incorrectly here, that I'm not seeing it show up as buildings?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It depends on the map you have for the background.
Yeah, I think my Bing hybrid isn't going to handle it. Let's take a look. I pressed this little, what looked like a trifold map out. Oh, I got Esri on. Okay, let me try Google Hybrid. See what that does. No, that not either.
No, because those are just being brought in as like web map services. So they're all going to be flat maps.
Okay, thank you.
So,
all right, good. All right, so that was Bloodhound. Tim, are we able to do anything on the server at this point, or is that for our next one?
The next one.
All right, that'll be our next one. So let me just take a look here. If there aren't, all gone, Andrew, all gone. Thinking about boots on the ground. I'm not sure what all gone means, but all right. So if there are no more questions or comments, as I said earlier, next week we're going to be at CivTech in DC. So our next live stream lesson in Q&A is going to be Wednesday, November 12th. And yes, we are going to be talking about UAS tools because drones, and this is Droneresponders. So we definitely want to get to that. Also, I am going to be trying to broadcast live there from my All Things TAC channel. So check out my profile from time to time and see when that's going to come up. I'm arranging for some of the folks that are there and have tables to give us a few minutes of their time and get some information on what they help the TAC community with and what solutions they bring to their table or the table. So with that, I want to thank you all for attending. Please note that the session was recorded and should come up in like 10 minutes or so. It will be in my LinkedIn feed as well as my YouTube channel, All Things TAC. We're also going to put a link to it within the Droneresponders TAC working group, so you should get a message to that effect. Tim, is there anything else you would like to bring up at this point? Or?
All good here.
All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, I'm going to wait another 20 seconds or so. Oh, there we go. Let's see what we have here. Adam. Also wondering about rural areas without Wi-Fi coverage and what the app functions like during that. So that's a great question. Tim, I'm going to let you hit that on the PACE model of primary, alternate, contingent, and emergency comms, like what you've seen in the field people using.
Oh, yeah, Jeremy's got it. You're looking at a Meshtastic, Beartooth, Gotenna, Somewhere Labs, something that doesn't have, well, and now you've got Starlink, right? You could always bring Starlink out to the field with you. But you're looking at using one of those. The ones that Jeremy mentioned there are all built, all have plugins and connectivity into TAC itself. But those are your options. But none of those ones mentioned there provide any backhaul back to the internet. So you're going to be strictly just on that radio network, unless you have something, a bigger mesh radio network that you can carry. But that's size, weight, and power. Right now, you're getting into bigger, heavier, more expensive equipment. So, but those are your options without cellular or Wi-Fi.
Okay, cool. I remember last episode that we did, Jeremy had a comment and I left him up for like 10 minutes and I didn't see his next comment and said, hey man, you can drop me now from the comment, but I'm going to leave you up there, Jeremy, because I like looking at you. I'm just kidding. All right. We're going to take that down. Andrew, drop an airplane and see how big it is. It's almost real scale. Yes, that's a very good point. From your TAC device, if you'd like to go into pin drop and choose aircraft, put the marker down somewhere and it is pretty close to it. That's a good point. Thank you, Andrew. All right, so I think we're good at this point. If nobody has any other questions, for those of you who did attend today, please make sure that you come with your end user device next time, because we are going to try to troubleshoot, and there is troubleshooting necessary in launching UAS tools. I've had great success using the Mini 3. No, Adam, your question was seen. We brought it up. Jeremy responded to it with Meshtastic, Beartooth, Gotenna Pro, and then Tim gave some very good narrative with it as well. So we did see it. I hope you hear that here. If you do, give me a thumbs up. Yeah, so I've had a lot of success, and this is from the Reverend of TAC, AJ. He told me to get a DJI Mini 3, which I did with the regular RCN1 controller, and it was pretty easy getting it up and spinning. So you don't need to get a fancy controller with a built-in screen. You can use your device, your end user device, just like you would when you're flying a regular drone. There are a couple things you need. So before we do that one on November 12th, I'm going to put out a very verbose, detailed LinkedIn message as to, the best way for you to succeed in that lesson by having everything all spun up already. All right. Question, is there a unit max? Adam asked. I'm trying to think of what that might mean. If you could be more specific, Adam, I'd appreciate it, but I'm going to take a swing at it that maybe you're talking about, how many EUDs can be on a particular network, and that really has to do with the capability of the network. I don't think that that's a TAC issue, unless I'm wrong, Tim. Is there like a maximum amount of EUDs allowed in a TAC session on a server?
On a server, no.
So
again, if it's gonna depend on the network. Obviously, if everybody's on Wi-Fi, then you only got 250 something IP addresses, depending on the size of your subnet. But yeah, on the server side, there's no limitation. Only the limitation on the server. If you only have, like, if you're running it on a Raspberry Pi, you can't run that many users through it. You're not pushing 500 to 1,000 users on a Raspberry Pi. But
right.
no, there's no. Adam's next question. What if there's service loss during operation? Yeah, you're kind of on your own at that point. There is the plugin called DataSync, which we can get into, which will, if you're using that for the operation, will sync data from the server to your device and your device up to the server, so everybody else has it. If you go out of comms with that on, when you come back, the data will be resynced. Not sure if chats are stored and forwarded or not. I can't remember off the top of my head. But
Tim, because we have time, might you bring up that plugin right now and talk about it a little bit?
I don't have that plugin installed. I don't have it. I don't use it.
Got it.
So, I'm a developer, man. I'm not an implementer.
Okay. I think a couple of the agencies you've spun up might disagree with that, but you have trained some of them. So
yeah,
that's why I asked. I know you're.
No, I don't have any devices that are running. They're all running the developer build attack, so I can't run plugins. So.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right. So with that, again, just to reiterate, come with your EUDs. Come with a browser open on a laptop so you can go out to the server if need be. Come with your drone if you have one, with your controller, and everything loaded up that I'm going to put up in our next LinkedIn event. And with that, I bid you all a great day. And for those of you who are going to be in CivTac, I can't wait to meet you personally. I actually never met Tim in the flesh, and so I'm looking forward to meeting him and AJ and Mark Halliday out of the UK, and gosh, there's just so many people. I mean, Matt DeSalto. It's going to be great. So yeah, looking forward to those of you who will be there to say hello, and I appreciate you coming. We'll see you next time. Take care.